ask if you talk a little bit about Black Terror, because that play has not been published except for in this, right? Is that the only place? I mean, you can't really get it from dramatists. So.
Yeah, it is. Black Terror was a political drama that I wrote back in 1971.
The first one, you got a
I got a Drama Desk Award for Most Promising Playwright.
And they closed down the theater.
Yeah,
wow.
I kind of remember things that.
We met at that play. That was pretty nice.
Yeah. Black Terror was a play in which the revolution was underway. It was actively being pursued by members of the Weather Underground, the Black Panther Party, the Revolutionary Action Movement, some of the other groups of that time. And I put together this fictional group that was sort of representative decided, and what inspired the play was a combination of things. I can't remember now whether Huey Newton was in jail or whether he had been released. But Newton had written an article in the Black Panther Party newspaper about revolutionary suicide and the need for black people to develop urban kamikaze, people who would literally hurl themselves at the machine and sacrifice themselves and blow it up. And he cited of course the kamikaze pilots of World War II. He cited I think some activities that were going on in terms of military action against American soldiers in Vietnam at the time. And I was outraged. But I was just sort of like a lowly little soldier in the ranks at that time. I had no standing whatsoever to challenge anyone like Huey Newton directly. So I decided to challenge him the one way that every writer should challenge establishment, with the pen. I decided, okay, you want the revolution, you want to see it, I'll put it on stage. I'm going to put it on stage exactly as it is. I'm going to show you exactly what revolution is. I remember Malcolm X's speech where he said, revolutions are bloody. And I decided to write a play where revolution would be bloody, and where you would have to make moral choices as well as military and strategic choices that would not be easy to make, but you were going to have to do it if you really wanted a revolution. I put all of the language on there. Like I said, I was half the time, I was going, to the Black Panther Party headquarters, and I was going to these other places and doing all kinds of work. I was very, very close to Amiri Baraka. I was very close to Ed Bullins, the playwright Ed Bullins, Sonia Sanchez. I knew half the leadership of the New York chapter. That's where I first met Jamal Joseph. I remember Felipe Luciano when he was a minister with the Young Lords. And so I had all these manifestos, plus because I was the managing editor of Black Theater magazine at the New Lafayette Theater, I wound up having access to newsletters from Frelimo, which was the liberation organization that was fighting against the Portuguese in Mozambique. I had access to communiques from PAIGC, which was a liberation movement that was fighting against the Portuguese in Angola. I had access to communiques from a group called the Azania People's Organization, which was affiliated with the ANC in South Africa at the time that they were leading revolutionary action against the South African government. And so I was taking all of these, ideological statements from all these different organizations and using them in the play. And like every young person my age at that time, 22, 23, 24 years old, the mid-1960s, I had a copy of the Little Red Book. I knew the 3 bookstores in New York that I could go to where I could get my copy of Mal's Little Red Book. Yeah. And I had a copy of Mal's speech on art and culture that he delivered while he was on the Long March. So I was all set. I was all set. And I took that material and put it in the play and had a specific mission that black terrorists were going to undergo. And at a crucial point in that play, I started to debate the issue over what do you do with counter-revolutionary elements inside the community. And I started to directly talk about revolutionary suicide. How do you engage in revolutionary suicide and urban kamikazes when you are a minority in a country and you're trying to fight a war of attrition against, when you're only like 10% of the population, and as your numbers begin to dwindle, how do you expect to win?